So let's dive straight in. So in the women's Prem, we've got Castletown A versus Baccas A, Ramsey A versus Saracens, and Harlequins A versus Valkyries A. Now, you have pegged Castletown A versus Baccas A to be the match to watch in this league.
Yeah, I think the game between these two sides is going to be pretty close. I think Baccas A will just edge it. But I'm just going to, sort of half sit on the fence with this because Castletown A have proven me...
sitting on the fence.
Castletown A have sort of proved me wrong so many times in the past that, I'm almost scared to go against them now. But, I think Baccas A have got a bit more strength and depth to overcome Castletown A. But it's an interesting game because whoever wins it, they're going to be up there with like Valkyries A, Vikings A to challenge for the title. And although Baccas A have lost to Vikings already in the league, and I think they're growing as the season goes on. They've got so many new players that have come to the club. They've also got former players that have come back after a period of time away. So it's going to take a little bit of time for them to gel, but I think they're just hitting their stride at the right time.
And what about for Ramsey A versus Saracens? Who are you going to put your money on?
I think Ramsey A are going to walk away with a victory fairly easily there. I mean, Saracens have lost a couple of players. If you look at Sophie Howland, she's gone to Baccas A and been really successful there, has to be said.
I think Sophie Howland has been mentioned on every show so far.
She has, because she's always scoring as well, and she's been really, really impressive for Baccas A, and it's been a good move for her. But unfortunately for Saracens, it means that they have lost a couple of their better players, and they are struggling a little bit this season. So if you look at then Harlequins A and Valkyries A should win that one fairly easily again. The bottom positions are probably going to be between Saracens and Harlequins A at this point in the league. And Valkyries A, of course, they're fighting for that title against Vikings in a really tight battle.
Mm-hmm. In the men's Prem, we've got Saracens A versus Valkyries A, Baccas B versus Vikings B, which you've pegged as the one to watch, Vikings A versus Harlequins A, and Ramsey A versus Baccas A.
Yeah, I think Saracens A, Valkyries A, you've got to say Valkyries A should win that one fairly easily. Again, Saracens men's A have lost a couple of players to other clubs. Will Brighton and Scott Mason spring to mind, and they've gone to Vikings A. So, and they're two big players, and they've walked straight into the Vikings A side. So for Saracens to lose two players of that calibre is a big ask them to be replaced so quickly. Baccas B versus Vikings B, I think that's the biggest game of the day and across all the leagues really. It's both sides want to finish in that top four, and I think whoever wins this game will more than likely go on and finish in those top four positions. And both sides will be desperate to get there in order to sort of help their first teams out a little bit in the fight for the title. Maybe take points off their opposition. One or two would open it up just nicely. Vikings A, Harlequins A. I don't think it's going to be a massively high scoring game. I think Vikings A will probably win. I'm going to actually put a score on this one, 9-1.
So specific.
To Vikings A, and maybe there's a little bit of a side discussion going on there with Chris Cave, but I think Vikings A should win that one fairly easily. Ramsey A versus Baccas A. I think Ramsey A are going to be on the wrong side of a bit of a beating tomorrow. Unfortunately, I think they're not as good as they have been in previous seasons. Whereas previously they've been sort of fighting Valkyries A for that sort of best of the rest, sort of third place spot. This year they're staring down the barrel of a bottom half finish again, and I think Baccas A have far too much strength for them.
Okey-dokey. Well, best of luck to Ramsey then. In women's Div 1, we've got Vikings B versus Baccas C, Vikings C versus Baccas B, and Valkyries C versus Castletown B. Lots of B's and C's.
Yeah, so make sure I get my ABCs right. I think Valkyries C against Castletown B. It should be a Valkyries C win. They've overcome the odds every week that they've played, and they're quietly going about their business without stunning everybody rigid. Last week was a really good result for them against Baccas B when they beat them 1-0. But again, it wasn't something that surprised anybody a huge amount. But it seems to be they're just climbing up that table and sort of sneaking up behind Baccas B and Vikings B for a title push. And you can't forget about Valkyries C because they will. They're going to continue that for the rest of the season, I think. The next, I've got to get this right. It's going to take some explaining. But these two fixtures, Vikings B, Baccas C, and Vikings C versus Baccas B, I think could throw up some interesting results. Vikings C will want to do their first team a favour by beating their closest title rivals, but so will Baccas C, against Vikings B, they'll want to be doing their B team a favour by beating their nearest rivals. So what you could see here is those C teams both winning, which will be an ideal situation, tighten that league up really well, make things easy for us reporting it. But I think these results could have a big bearing on where the league title goes.
I was just doing a lot of smiling and nodding there, really trying to keep up. Interesting set of fixtures, as you've said. And just quickly, in men's Div 1, we've got Ramsey B versus Vikings C, Valkyries B versus Saracens B, Castletown B versus Baccas Colts, and Harlequins B versus Castletown A. So if you had to pick a game to watch in men's Div 1, what would it be?
There isn't any real sort of standout fixtures. I'm going to be completely biased and say Ramsey B versus Viking C. Because I'm playing in it, and I think my dad's playing against me. So, and although sparks never fly when me and my dad play against each other, it hasn't happened too often. So it was going to be a good occasion for me and my dad anyway. But Valkyries B, Saracens B, you've got to say Valkyries B for the win there. I think they're going to go the whole season undefeated. I think it's going to be very, very difficult to beat them. Castletown B, Baccas Colts. Baccas Colts, they're doing a similar thing to Valkyries C, and they did it last year. They sort of snuck up and took the championship from nowhere, and I think they're going to be doing a similar thing this year. So you've got to keep an eye on them. Harlequins B versus Castletown A. You've got to say Castletown A on paper should win that, and I think they've had a couple of their players back from illness and injury as well. Ramsey B versus Vikings C. I'm not going to sit on the fence, and table doesn't lie. I think Vikings C should win that one.
Okey-dokey. And just to finish, in half an hour's time, thereabouts, the Isle of Man under-14s girls team are playing at... is it the KWC girls team? They're playing against Guernsey School.
No, it's the Isle of Man girls team. It's the Isle of Man under-14s girls playing at King William's College at 7 o'clock tonight against Guernsey School under-14s girls. And tomorrow, the King William's College under-18s have travelled today to play hockey in Guernsey tomorrow as well. So that's one of the reasons why Vikings A and Valkyries B aren't playing this weekend, is that quite a few of their players are playing in that KWC side. Fantastic stuff. And what are you predicting from the under-14s game tonight, do you think? I think it'll be a fairly close game. When you looked at when the boys and girls travelled away, it was a mix and match. Well, yeah. The girls did very, very well. Yeah. So I think the under-14s girls will do really, really well again, and will come away with the win. But at their age, it's not all about winning everything. It's just about having a good time.